Welcome, everybody, to Mom Street USA. My name is Jackie, aka Wishes Mama, and I am joined for this hub episode by our good friends Duck and Jess, aka Beanie Duck. And this is part 2 of our Universal mini series. We're not exactly sure how many episodes we're going to go here, but you get part 2 today. Last episode, we talked about kind of an overview of Universal. And this episode, we are diving into hotels and tickets. So lots of very detailed, good information coming your way. But before we hop into that, Duck, Jess, how are you guys doing today?
Feeling pretty good.
Feeling good.
Good.
Very
That's
excited
always
to talk much
good
more
to
about
hear.
Universal.
Yes, I'm sure you are. As we were doing our notes this week, I kind of was messaging with Duck going, we might need to push some of this out because I know you want to share all of the things that you would like to share. So we might need some more time. So rather than giving you all like 3-hour long episodes, we figured we would chop it up into a couple more pieces to make it a little bit more easily digested for our listening audience out there.
As much as I would love to have a marathon length podcast about everything that I can possibly fit Universal into somebody's ears, that feels unwise and unfair to everybody around me. So, yep, Jackie was like, we're breaking it up, which is a completely valid stance to have taken.
Yes. And it's been a while since Mom Street did any sort of like part 1, part 2 episodes. So this is good. I like the little mini series to kind of do a deep dive, so to speak, with our Universal stuff. So, that all being said, where are we starting first for this episode?
So I think we're going to dive right into hotels.
Perfect.
And their tiers.
Okay.
So I know that there is a lot of crossover maybe between classifications for people who historically would have gone to Disney. So the tier system is also in place here. So we'll go through the different tier structure that they have to their hotels, as well as all of the hotels within those tiers. And then once we go through some details about the hotels, including size, theming, amenities, we'll hop then right over into tickets. Tickets get a little complicated, so we'll walk through it. We gave us a sampling of tickets because there's many options at Universal depending on how you're building your vacation. So to make sure that nobody's eyes glaze over as we're going through all of the options, we picked a small sampling of really like the 1 and 2 day ticket options because it will just build from there in a similar logical manner. So just to give you a base understanding of the ticketing systems.
I love it. Totally makes sense. And just a side note to anybody who might be listening who is considering potentially planning either Disney or Universal or a both or a combo or whatever it is for your upcoming trip. It is always going to be easier to price compare using a travel agent. We've talked about travel agents before on Mom Street. I really do think that they are an amazing resource for helping you figure out what is best to book your vacation, whether it's Disney, whether it's Universal, whether you want to throw in SeaWorld or Legoland or Busch Gardens or the beach or whatever also in there. Asking for help from someone who is trusted, like a travel advisor, travel agent, whatever you want to use, it can be very overwhelming without. So I highly suggest if you are someone kind of going into this with base level 0 knowledge, reach out to someone. And if you don't know a travel agent, maybe reach out to a couple friends who have used travel agents before. With our Chip & Co. Partnership here, they've got travel agents as well. So feel free to reach out to them to help sort through it because it can be a lot, even for someone that is well-versed in Universal, Disney, and the like.
It can be a lot. Yeah. So I hope that the info that we give everybody today will start to form your understanding of maybe what you want. And then you can take those ideas, go to your travel agent or your travel advisor, and then have further conversations. At least you'll have a starting point and some sort of comfortability and understanding when you're approaching that conversation.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk hotels and their tiers. And I guess we should say the tiers are just kind of like your money category, right?
Yeah.
So you hear this with Disney. It's the same setup kind of with Universal with a couple little things that Duck and Jess will talk to us about. But just know that when we say tiers, we're referring to kind of like your most budget friendly, you're somewhere in the middle, and then your top end of your price range, generally speaking. So I'll let Duck and Jess dive into more of the details with that.
All right. So Universal has a 3-tier system. There used to be, I'm gonna say more tiers, but recently with the opening of Epic, they have sort of reoriented their classification. So even if you're familiar, if you've stayed at a Universal Resort before, there may have been some shuffling around, especially now with the 3 new hotels that are opening to support Epic. So we'll have our base tier, which is the value inns and suites. We then get into our like mid tier, which is the prime value hotels. And then we get to the top of the line, the luxury, which are called Signature Collection. Not Signature Collection hotels, as I'm going to continually refer to them as. They just call them Signature Collection. So
What?
I don't know. I would have no idea why you wouldn't put hotel after it, but maybe they
They're
want to.
resorts, not
I was
hotels.
gonna say maybe they're like trying to go resort-y. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like not in the tax bracket to understand why that's what they would do.
Me,
But
that's
they call
me.
them Signature Collection. I will be just calling them probably Signature Collection hotels or Signature hotels, all one and the same.
Signature is the important word anyway, so we
Yes.
got this.
Right. When you think signature, you think high, classy, expensive. Yes, all of those things.
Yes. Perfect.
All right. So, even though there are the different tiers, there are some things that are included across the board for anybody who is staying on Universal property. So that would include early access. So early access is the big benefit that you get if you are staying on any Universal resort. You get that early access. The other thing that you get across the board is things like, room charging privileges. The other thing is, Disney has done away with this, so it's nice that Universal has kept it. But if you purchase merchandise in the park, then it will be sent back to your hotel room. You can have that service. So as long as you are on property, no matter what level you are staying at, you have access to those perks.
I wish Disney would bring that one back.
I miss it so much.
That's one of the big things that I feel like feels like a small little perk, but like I feel like that's one that a lot of families are really missing from Disney
It's
post-pandemic.
nice to not have to lug things around all day long.
Yes, and then also not have to wait because like it makes me want to wait with my kids to let them buy souvenirs. And then it's like by the time they're choosing, they're exhausted and tired because we don't want to carry it around all day. We don't want it to be in the stroller all day. And then by the time they get to pick it out, they're just over everything. So it's like this is fine.
It has significantly dropped my impulse shopping for Disney trips. I have to admit, because
Yeah.
I like
That is
really,
the one benefit.
I like really have to, right? Like, I mean, like, I'm sorry it's gone, but also maybe better for my wallet.
Right.
But like, I really have to weigh my purchases. Where at Universal, that's a little easier to just be like, I'll just send it back to the room,
and you forget about it.
yeah, and then you have a nice surprise.
Things, right.
I go, hey, look at that. It's like a little gift.
That's right. It's a gift to myself that I forgot buying.
To me, from me.
Exactly. Oh boy. Okay, so back to the perks. The other major perk that is only offered to 3 of the Signature Collection hotels are these free express passes. Now, we'll go more into express passes later on in the podcast, but like the long and the short of it is that this is essentially like a fast pass or a fast lane attraction or a fast lane access to an attraction. They cover most things in the park, of course, except for the latest and greatest. And there is currently no resort that you can stay at to get a free fast pass or a free express pass to Epic Universe. That is still currently being paid and probably will be for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So that benefit is limited only to but that benefit is only limited to 3 of the Signature Collection hotels, and we'll go through those as we get to that category.
Yeah, and so we're going to jump into these hotels here, but I do just want to remind everyone who's listening that we're going to give some price ranges. However, prices for all of these resorts can change drastically depending on what is happening. So I did a lot of the pricing for these, and I tried to pick some different months that would give us a pretty decent range, but it really just depends based on events and the expectation of crowds at the theme park at any given time. So it can change based on Epic Universe opening very soon. HHN time is going to be a different price range. The holidays, Christmas is going to be a different price range. So we're giving you kind of a ballpark, but again, talk to your travel agent, check out the Universal website if you're looking for specific dates and to get an idea of what the resort ranges are going to be. That's your best bet.
All right. So, first up in the breakdown of the hotels is the value inns and suites. So, there are 3 hotels that are within this classification. So, there are the Endless Summer Resorts, which are Surfside and Dockside, and then Cabana Bay. So for the Endless Summer Resorts, we kind of are talking about these two together because that's how Universal, has them classified as kind of their own mini resort, referred to as the Endless Summer Resort. So if you remember in our last episode, we discussed the old Wet and Wild water park and how they basically just kind of picked it up and moved it across the street to make Volcano Bay. So these resorts are literally on that land where the Wet and Wild water park used to be. So these are pretty new resorts that opened in December of 2020. And so each resort has its own theming. So Surfside is themed to, you guessed it, surfing.
I
What?
personally am
So shocking.
shocked and
know.
appalled that
Would have thought.
that Surfside is themed to surfing.
I thought it
have
was
been
skiing. I
been
don't know.
on the skiing resort in Florida.
I mean, other people have done it.
So-
Yeah, I'm
Right,
going to say
exactly.
it's not out of the question.
I'm laughing as if I don't love a themed resort and wouldn't totally eat up a ski themed resort in Florida.
It's so true. It's so true.
Led astray.
And then Dockside is themed to more general, like a coastal resort kind of theming. So these are both kind of the furthest resorts from the Universal parks. So with that being said, there is no walkway or anything like that to get to the parks. Your only option is a complimentary bus service that takes you, back and forth between the resorts and the parks. Both hotels offer both standard rooms as well as 2-bedroom suites, and both have things like food courts and a Starbucks, and both have small arcades located inside of them, which is awesome.
I love an arcade.
Who doesn't want an arcade?
I'm simple. I see a skee ball, I play a skee ball. It is what it is.
Exactly. You need things to do if you just have like a resort day. So it's nice
Yeah.
that they have things to offer. Dockside is the bigger of the 2 resorts. It has 2,050 rooms, whereas Surfside only has 750. And so since Dockside is bigger, it does have 2 pools, whereas Surfside only has 1, and it has additional poolside bars as well. And this also makes Surfside a little bit of a quieter resort since it is a little bit of a smaller one.
Yeah, so we haven't stayed at Endless Summer. We've stayed at a couple of the other resorts, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we get to them. But the feedback that I saw overwhelmingly when I was doing the research was this is like Dockside is comparable to like Pop, where it's there's cheer competitions and Surfside does not have that because it is so much smaller that usually when there's large groups booked, they will prefer to book them at Dockside because there's so many more rooms that you can book in a block together.
That totally makes sense. And I was literally going to ask. I feel like this gives like a Pop Century Art of Animation vibe where like they're connected sister resorts. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of price range with this group. So basically you've got, again, like Jess mentioned, 2 different room options in these resorts. You've got just your standard room, 2 queen beds, the standard room that you think of at any resort hotel that you go to. That's going to range, again, generally speaking, around $150 to $200 per night. So very similar in cost perspective to those value resorts that you see at Disney. That's right in that all-star range, when you think about that. But they do also have 2-bedroom or 2-bed suites. I guess they are 2-bedroom suites because the one room will have 2 queen beds in it and the other room will have an additional queen bed in it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice because Disney doesn't have as many suites, I feel like, as Universal does. And you guys will hear that as we go through this episode and talk about some of the different other options. Universal has way more suite options and way more kind of larger family options than Disney tends to for a better price point,
Mhm.
which is kind of nice. So, that kind of 3-bed suite, I guess what you would call it, ranges you anywhere from 215 to 300 per night. So, comparing that to something like the family suites at Art of Animation, that is significantly cheaper than
Yes.
those resorts at Disney. And just a note about that suite, it does feature the separate bath area and vanity area, which all of these, anytime that you have any of these resort rooms, they're going to be separated in the same way that you see Disney. So if you're familiar with the Disney setup where you've got the beds on the one side and you've got either a curtain or a pocket door or something in between the vanity and shower area, Universal also has that as well. The nice thing about the suites is they do have a kitchenette with a mini fridge, a picnic table, a microwave, and a sink. So some extra perks for that little bit of extra space in those suites there.
And then the third resort in the more value kind of tier is Cabana Bay. So this is themed to kind of like the classic like 1950s and 60s kind of era. So from the outside, it looks kind of like a bowling alley from the 60s, and it actually does have a 10-lane bowling alley on site. And if you have nostalgia for the 1960s, you will love that they include Zest soap in every room.
I lost my mind when I found out that they did that. I'm like, that's such a fun,
It's
like, that's
very
such a fun
fun.
thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, you have a vintage theme resort, which, like,
Right.
I'm a sucker for vintage. Like, I
Right.
just think it's very fun and kitsch. And, like, the fact that they do that little, right? It would be so easy for them to just not do that. But, like,
Right.
all of your, like, little bath amenities are themed to be retro products.
that.
And, like,
Yeah.
that's just, like, a little extra thing that I didn't know they did that because we haven't stayed at Cabana,
Right.
but I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, that's adorable.
It's actually the theming at Universal Resorts is very like it's nice without being super over the top.
Yeah.
So I always do enjoy that.
Well, and it's interesting because they don't pull from they do in later rooms, but they don't pull from their IP as much as some of the Disney resorts do.
Yeah.
And they're not, placing characters. Again, it's just a different vibe and it's a different feel. But like they don't, you're not going to find Universal IP characters at their resorts as often as you do at
Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah.
Although I will say we met Scooby-Doo at Halloween Horror Nights. I didn't realize that they owned Scooby-Doo until there was a 6-foot-tall Scooby-Doo in our resort. I will send you that picture to post to our social media.
my gosh,
It
yes,
was
please.
hysterical.
All right. So back to Cabana Bay.
Okay, I guess we can talk about Cabana Bay and not Scooby-Doo.
So this resort has 2,200 rooms, with 1,280 of those rooms being your standard rooms, and 920 are the family suites. Cabana Bay features 2 pools, one that has a water slide and a pretty large lazy river. And Cabana Bay is located a little bit closer to the resorts, but it's still further out than the other resorts. So there is technically a walking path to Volcano Bay, and all the other locations within Universal have bus transport. But Cabana Bay is right across from 2 of the other resorts that do feature a walking path and a water taxi. So you can always walk over to those resorts and then use the transportation over there to get to the parks.
Yeah, we have stayed at Sapphire Falls, which is the right across the street from Cabana, and regularly you see people. You do have to cross a highway, but it's very safe. There's always like stoplights and like there's lots of signage, and it's very clear to people who are around there that that is a crosswalk. So I've never seen anybody, like try to play Frogger or anything. It's very safe in that area. And so it's pretty easy. So don't let Cabana Bay, even though on the website they only say you have access to Volcano Bay via walking path, like that's technically true, but if you choose, you can just walk right across the street to Sapphire Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know. And the water slides and lazy rivers at value resorts. Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And it's a big lazy river. It's like basically the whole, if anybody, goes to look up pictures online, the pictures don't really do it justice. It's gigantic. It's
Yeah.
like shockingly big for a lazy river at a resort.
That's good to know. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's talk
For no reason other than
The wheels are turning.
That's right. I'm so like we can see the cop. The hamster's coming back to life, running around up there.
Well, let's talk about those room types at Cabana Bay just to again give you guys some kind of price comparison. So your standard room again, 2 queen beds. You're looking anywhere from 130, as low as 130 up to about 300. So again, the range is a little bit larger depending, and I kind of used like early May and then early August as kind of some pinpoints here for these ranges, just to give you guys kind of a general idea. And then their family suites here have 2 queens and a sleeper sofa. So a little bit of a different setup than the previous ones we just talked about. And they range from 225 to about 365 a night, depending again. And the living space here includes that sleeper sofa. So it's out in a living space. So it's not necessarily a separate bedroom for that one. And again, it has that kitchenette with the mini fridge, the microwave, and sink. So again, similar amenities when it comes to the family suite there as well.
Yeah, and just on your comment about trying to use like May and August, the most popular times from what we know from our experience are of course the holidays, right? Like the holidays are always going to be biggest, most expensive. Like consider Thanksgiving and the last week of the year 100% going to be the most expensive. But other than that, August is also peak for Universal. Especially the last week in August.
Right.
The weekend before Labor Day, though, is when you will see prices, or I guess I should say the weekend of Labor Day. Even though that is typically opening weekend for Halloween Horror Nights, that is when prices start to go down a little bit from the summer, and they're like some of the lowest prices that you may see ends up being in September. So just something to keep in mind that, if that's something that you can do, maybe a long weekend with the kids or something. September is always a good time to look for those deals and steals.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of universal. Get it? Across the both parks when it comes to Disney and Universal, that they kind of have that peak during summer. It comes down just a tiny bit going into kind of Labor Day, but then the closer you get to Halloween, the more you're going to see those prices go back up again.
Especially at Universal with
Yes.
HHN. So
Yeah. And Disney's not a ton different when it comes to, not so scary and things like that. But so it's definitely a similar kind of wave pattern that both of those will happen. So you really want to price check and compare, especially if you're flexible in your week and weekends that you're trying to go. That is the best way to do it, is to just price check a couple different set of dates and see.
absolutely.
Okay, so that is the first little tier, right?
Yes. Yep. So
So-
those are the 3 hotels in the value tier.
Okay, so let's hear about the next tier. Moving on up.
So now the middle tier is called the prime value hotels. So I know, again, I'm like, that doesn't sound to me like the middle tier, but comparatively speaking, it is what they call their middle tier.
Right.
So this also has a couple of hotels in here. I think also 3. So we'll start with the Adventura Hotel or Adventura Hotel, depending on who you're asking. I'm gonna call it the Adventura Hotel because that's how my accent works. So, the Adventure Hotel, I think the best way to describe this is like a very sleek, modern hotel, right? Like it's all glass from the outside. It feels very much like, I don't even want to call it mid-century modern, but sleek modern design is a good way to put it. And that theming carries through the rest of the hotel. So it is it's like a medium size for a hotel, right? There's 900 standard rooms, but this one only has 11 suites. So while we were seeing a couple hundred suites, couple dozen suites, this one only has 11. So if the Adventurer Hotel is something that you're interested in based on look and proximity and price point, that is something to keep in mind, that they do have minimal suites in this hotel. Of course, like the other hotels, this also has a pool, but this has a splash pad, which is I know there's a lot of parents that are listening to this, hence the name Mom Street. So that is something to consider. And we have not stayed at the Adventura Hotel, but I have heard lots of very happy and very tired kids discussing the splash pad with glee while riding over to and from City Walk. So
I love that.
yeah, so it seems to be child approved splash pad. Other than that, there's also a fire pit. There may or may not be events going on. So if you are interested in the Adventura when you check in, just check with the front desk. They'll probably tell you, but I've heard of like movie nights and s'mores, and there's all kinds of things that happen out there because they have a little bit more space as compared to some of the other hotels.
Nice. So let's talk about the room types.
Mhm.
I did have a comment from our good friend Rhonda, who is an avid Universal goer as well, that mentioned that the Adventura and Cabana Bay are often in the same price range, but the Adventura is closer to a lot. So
Yes.
do note
That's
that.
that's absolutely
Mhm.
true. If you think about them, I hate to visualize. I know this is a podcast, but think about them in a triangle with the 2 points being Sapphire Falls and Adventura. They're closer. They're physically on the water, and you can take the water taxi over.
Mhm.
And then across the street is Cabana Bay. So it's not that far,
Right.
but it is a distance that at the end of the day may not be something that you're interested in hiking your tired little feet back that extra distance, you know what I
Right.
mean? It can matter at the end of a 3-day trek across Universal.
Yes, for sure. And I will say that, yes, with the standard room options, that is definitely the case. So the standard room options at Adventura are in the 225 to 250 range. So again, very affordable for something that is that close to the theme parks. Definitely a great option. They do have a couple different suite configurations here. Again, there are not very many suites, so I'd be interested to know how many, what combination of configurations they have, because they had more than some of the other ones we were looking at, which I thought was interesting. But they do have a kids suite, is what they call it. And you'll hear a little bit more about kids suites in some of the higher level resorts, because they've got some really incredibly themed ones that we've got coming your way shortly. But the kids suite has one king and two twin beds plus a sleeper sofa. So lots of different sleeping configuration options there. That is going to run you in the $500 to $600 range. So that you see more kind of like those Art of Animation suite range again. Um, and then there is a kid suite plus two queens. So you get all of that plus a second bedroom with two queens. So that will sleep 9 guests with 7 adults maximum, they consider, because they don't consider an adult eligible to sleep in a twin bed because of the way that they have stuff set up, apparently. So even if you're a tiny adult, so sorry, you're out of luck with that one.
You have aged out of Universal's twin bed eligibility.
Right. So interesting, that all of these gave a very clear number of total occupants and adult occupants. So just just to note, and that room is going to run you 725 to 900. So it's a really nice option when you, especially when you price compare potentially having to book more than one room. When you look at the price comparison to that kids suite plus two queens, it's very comparable in that way. So it's nice to have that space all together, I think, for sure.
Yeah, it is a nice option. But again, very limited suites with this
Yes.
setup. So if this is something that you're interested in, as you are booking yourself, you can, discuss with Universal or even with your travel advisor, something to plan in advance for
Yes.
perhaps.
I was going to say they're not going to be available last minute. So you definitely
No.
want to plan ahead if you're looking for those suite options. Again, you're going to hear us talk about lots of suite options. So if you're looking for a suite and those ones are not available, hopefully we can give you a second and third option that will work for your family as well.
Absolutely. All
Perfect.
right. Oh, and one more amenity that I would be remiss if I didn't mention for the party animals. Adventura has a rooftop bar that has really great
Ooh.
views of the parks because you can see like clearly over the water. So it's very nice.
That's pretty cool. Can you see, like, because there are some nighttime festivities at some of the parks. Can you see any of that from there? Or do you just get kind of a general park view?
You probably could see some of it. The way that Universal is set up, it is not very like how Disney like you can generally see like some of their icons from a distance and like the
Mhm.
fireworks shows and stuff. Universal does more light shows than firework shows.
Gotcha.
And as a result, if you can't see what the lights are being projected to, for example, the castle show in
Mhm.
Islands of Adventure for Harry Potter, if you can't see the castle, you can't see the show. You will probably hear the music loud and clear,
Right.
but just like because of the nature of the way that the parks are set up, you can't see too much, but you'll definitely be able to hear it loud and clear.
Gotcha. Good to know. That's kind of what I figured, because Universal doesn't do the typical standard fireworks show that we think of that like Magic Kingdom does, that you can see from across Seven Seas Lagoon and watch at the different resorts and things like that. A little bit different at Universal. And we'll get into that next episode. But just put a pin in that.
Or maybe 3 episodes for now.
You
Let's
know,
let's see how many this ends up
see how long
being.
it takes.
Oh my word. I don't think I can do that many, Duck. Take me back to Disney.
Fine. I guess we can go back to the mouse.
Eventually. We'll make it back. It's okay. It'll all come back around again. Okay, let's talk about some new exciting hotels that just opened at Universal.
So part of the reason for the shuffling of the classifications is the introduction of these 2 of the 3 new hotels for Epic Universe. So these are Stella Nova and Terra Luna. I was calling them Stella Luna, Terra Nova, like
Every time I get
I-
them wrong. Every time. I'm like,
Stella and Terra, maybe Nova and Luna. I don't know, whatever. You'll know what I'm talking about, right? They're sister hotels.
I love a sister hotel here.
That's it.
hey, that's okay.
And listen, it's convenient. So they are, like I said, 2 of the 3 new hotels. This is a similar setup to Dockside Surfside, where they are sort of on their own little self-contained property right next to each other, like right across the street. So as far as theming goes, Stella Nova is being, oh no, I'm sorry. So the theming is space for both of them. It's really hard to describe, but I think the best way to put it is like Terra Luna is themed if you made a retro future moon base for a vacation, and Stella Nova is youth taking a vacation in a galaxy. Right? Like it's
Space.
really, it's like, it sounds very odd, right? Space generally. So it sounds very odd, but if you see like the design, the architectural, and like the color palette choices, that it makes way more sense. So I know this is a podcast and not like a visual medium, so that's what I could get you.
Close enough. They'll figure it out and they'll Google it if they want to know more.
We have
sense.
we have so much technology in our pocket. Please
Right.
Google it, because I don't want to sound like that much of a crazy person with these descriptions. But between the 2 hotels, so Stella Nova is the one that kind of like we were talking about with Cabana, where it's like marketed as having the walking path to Volcano Bay. Stella Nova is the one that is being marketed as having the direct walking path to Epic Universe, but due to the fact that they're right across the street from each other, I imagine if you stay at one or the other, you can just simply access the walking path.
Right.
Or
Okay,
can you not?
so-
Doing swipe cards, because I've heard. Go ahead.
Keep in mind, there is still a lot of construction going on.
Yes, that is fair.
Our good friend Kirk at Walrus Carp was live at these resorts not that long ago. We're recording this at the beginning of April, so just for reference. And there was not a great pathway even between these 2 resorts. He went a couple different ways and there was lack of sidewalk. He eventually found one that went like way out to one of the main roads and kind of walked along there. So
Interesting.
if you're planning to go there soon, because these resorts are open, these
Yes.
resorts are functioning, they are open, people are staying there. Do a little bit of research if you're trying to walk between to figure out where sidewalks are. So that you don't end up
Please be
walking
safe.
alongside of the road. So that is just my little PSA, because I love you all and I don't want you to get hurt. Take a look or ask your people at the front desk or concierge. Just say like, hey, what is the best way to get there? I imagine things will get better as more of the construction is finalized. They're just adding some last touches and things right now, and they're in previews and things like that. So I imagine it will get better and there will be not as many construction vehicles sitting there. So just
One should hope.
yeah, but you never know. So just do a little bit of research if you're planning to walk between the resorts, or if you're hoping to, in the future, once Epic does open, be able to walk from both of those resorts to Epic. Make sure you're taking a look at maps. And I don't suggest using like a Google or an Apple map, because it's going to look like just a mass construction zone. So do a little bit of research, ask at the resorts so that you are safely traveling between.
So
Mom rant
No.
over.
yes. No, good rant. I will be interested to see if that remains that way.
Right.
That just seems very dangerous to me because I can foresee somebody saying, well, that resort 150 yards away
Right.
has a walking path.
Right.
I'm not taking a bus. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Please be safe. Please don't dart out into a road. Listen to whatever a cast member may tell you or a crew member may tell you.
Right.
But we'll see as things unfold. This is still early days.
Yeah.
Brand new resorts. They can always make changes at a future
Right.
date. So.
And again, and they may find that, like Lem is saying here, he canceled his stay at Terra because there wasn't going to be a walking path. So that may be something that Universal looks at and goes, oops, let's fix that.
Yeah.
And even if they just connect the two sister resorts to give some sort of a safe walking path,
Yes.
that may be something coming in the future. We don't know. But for now, that's what we're going with because we like to follow the rules.
I have a pathological need to follow the rules.
That you do. You're a rule follower.
How dare you?
Okay, aside from the walking paths, what else can you tell us about Stella Nova and Terra Luna?
Okay, so the real big draw, I think, to a lot of these, of course, is the pool. Every resort on Universal property has a pool. So if you're a big pool people, the thing to know is that Stella Nova has the larger pool, and it also is going to have a splash pad. So again, like if you are splash pad people, this is going to end up being the resort probably between the two that you're going to want to pick. And of course, they both standard, like otherwise seem to be pretty comparable. Both have like food courts as well as like a grab and go station. So both have similar levels of amenities. It just seems to be the pool situation and the access to Epic seem to be really what sets these two apart.
How many rooms are there? Did
So,
we talk about that?
750
There we go.
in each. Yes. I have this will teach me to not put spaces between all of my notes. There's 750 rooms in each of them. They are both equal size and they are all only standard rooms. There are not suites between these two resorts.
Yeah, so it was really interesting looking at pricing for this because some weeks they're identical.
Yep.
And some weeks they're not.
Yep.
So just, take a look around. Again, see what you want to be
Just
paying
shopping.
and yep. But generally speaking, their standard rooms are the 2 queen rooms that you see. And they're going to run you anywhere from $165 to about $225 on average per night. Now, I will say those prices were later in the summer. I did not look at prices directly around Epic because one, most of those nights are already sold out.
Because you couldn't.
Right.
There was
right.
no option.
Exactly. And two, that's not going to give you a good idea. Now, I will say, from what I've heard, a lot of the nights around Epic, Universal did a really nice job of not completely gouging prices. And they're actually fairly close to range from what I was finding on the website, looking at a couple different weeks throughout early summer and late summer. So
Good.
thank you, Universal.
That makes me happy.
Right.
Good job.
Right.
You're going to get your $7 billion back from me personally in the merch shop. So there's no need to raise hotel prices.
Right. Yes. And I think that's one thing that they kind of not outwardly, but they do kind of pride themselves on the fact that a lot of their resorts are cheaper than what you see the equivalent at Disney. And I think that's a big draw for a lot of families when they do these split trips, when they stay, when they're choosing where they want to stay. If they're doing Universal and Disney, a lot of the times they will opt to stay at Universal and either rent a car or Uber or just figure out their transportation to get to the Disney parks.
Yeah, I mean, more than once, that's what we've done.
Yeah.
Just because financially, it made way more sense for the proximity of the parks, the amount of time, the packages that we were able to get through Universal, and the amount of time that we then decided to comparatively spend at Disney. It just makes sense for the way that we'll usually do it is we'll Uber. And so like you just factor in like the Uber trip there and back.
Right.
And it still makes financially, because Uber's expensive, it
Right.
still financially made more sense for us to stay on Universal property and then head over to Disney for whatever park days we were doing.
Right. Again, these brand new resorts for Epic Universe, $165 to $225 a night. So keep all of that in mind as you are looking and searching for your future stay at Universal.
We are giving you numbers. That is it. That is all we're doing here.
They may not be exact, so
We are guessing as best as we can.
these came from the website. It's not a guess. Hold on.
It's an educated piece of information.
But it is not set in stone. So
No. And of course these can change depending on how many days you're staying, and I have this point at the end, but I might as well talk about it now since it's being brought up. Universal really has great packages to offer. Longer stay discounts. They're running a promotion right now where if you buy park tickets for 2 days, you get 2 days free. And they do promotions like that literally all the time. So if you're interested, sign up for emails, maybe contact a travel agency and let them know that you're interested in this, and they'll keep an eye out for deals. But like ticket packages, they'll do packages for events, Mardi Gras, Halloween Horror Nights, right? Like they will have, depending on what's happening, they'll have different packages, and they really, really want you in the door. And so they offer a lot. It could be a room discount. It could be a ticket discount. We've gotten both. We've gotten free express passes. Like Universal can and will throw a lot of things at you. So if you're flexible in your dates and your times, you can get a really great deal on a vacation to Universal.
yes, and we will get more into tickets and express passes a little bit in this episode. But we're not going to make you wait on that.
You're still a captive audience for now, but we do have one more section of hotels to run through.
One more hotels here to go through, and that is the Signature Collection. So there are 5 hotels within this classification, and for the purposes of this podcast, we're going to group them into the true Signature Collection and then what we're going to call Signature Light.
TM. You didn't put the TM.
Yeah.
Signature Light. TM.
It literally has the TM in our notes for anyone that wants to know. Duck literally put that.
TM, TM. Do not steal.
Anyway, why those 2 classifications, Jess? Please tell us.
Because, as I think Duck mentioned before, only 3 of the 5 signature hotels offer the express pass, the free express pass with your stay. So the ones that do not, which are Sapphire Falls and the Helios Hotel, which is the new flagship hotel for Epic Universe, both of those do not include the express pass. So those are the signature light because they have everything but the express passes. And then the other 3 are considered like the true signature hotels. So the first of the signature hotels is Sapphire Falls. So this is themed to a Caribbean, like tropical island vibe. And while, again, the theme is there, it doesn't just like smack you in the face with it though, right? So it's not like so over the top, which is, again, something that I really enjoy about the Universal Resorts. They're themed, but it's not like everywhere you turn, there is like super themed items, like the rooms aren't over the top and things like that. So this is actually the resort that me and Duck usually will stay at when we go down for Halloween Horror Nights every year.
We love it.
We do. It's a really great resort.
I've had a couple of people commenting in our live chat while we're recording this talking about loving Sapphire Falls as well. So I think it's definitely a super popular one.
Yeah, it's easily accessible to everything, right? You can walk or water taxi. Who doesn't love a fun little boat ride in the morning or at the end of the day, right? Like it's very fun.
Your feet hurt. It's nice to.
That's right.
It's a boat ride.
That's right. But I really just feel like the hotel itself is beautiful and really well laid out. It's gigantic, as Jess is going to share some stats here, but nothing ever feels unmanageably far away. You know, it's huge, but there's a lot to offer. There's a lot of options, and it is, while it's expensive, don't get me wrong, it is still within like a fair budget for like a nice hotel in the area. And like I said, they'll usually do some sort of deal like to package with Halloween Horror Nights, which is what we usually do. So like it's a beautiful hotel, it's manageable, and it's accessible to things. So that's my little soapbox moment. Please continue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So this resort has 1,000 standard rooms and 83 suites. So a lot of rooms there, but again, not quite as many suites comparatively.
I'm sorry, one other thing, because Lem just popped in our chat and had a very, very good point. It is hurricane proof. So if you are in the area, if you're a Florida local, and this is, they'll have like evacuation sorts of planning deals, right? Because a resort may be safer than your home, depending on where you are in the area. Everything is fully interconnected with internal hallways, and it is hurricane proof. We have been there in some absolutely gruesome weather and had no idea until we stepped outside. It is really, really excellent. So if you are a local and perhaps looking to ride out your hurricane party at a Universal resort, it is a
This
great
might be a good
option.
option. Yes.
And I know a lot of people that will do that just because the resorts are safer.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes, they are less likely to lose power.
Mm-hmm.
They are, may not be as much in like a flood zone as someone's house maybe. So
Yeah.
not a terrible option if you need somewhere safer than your own house to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, continue.
No. Where was I? It has a large pool with a very popular water slide and also a hot tub. There are 4 restaurants at the resort and lounges, including a bar that is on the main lounge and a late night pantry I think it's open till like 2 or 3 a.m.
Yeah, we've come back after horror nights, and it's like, you're not going to get like, a hot breakfast or anything in there at 3 a.m., but
They a little grab and go.
yeah,
They have some
good salads,
pastries.
sandwiches,
Yeah,
pastries,
so they have a good selection.
chips. They have really good salads, actually.
They do.
We've gotten some Caesar wraps in there and some salads when we've come back from horror night because like you need to eat something green after being you need a vegetable. So they're really really great food.
Mm-hmm. And then the resort has access to City Walk, Islands of Adventure, and Universal Studios. So there is a walking path or there is the water taxi. And the walk is really not super bad to do. It's like a 10-15 minute walk depending how fast you walk. So it's pretty nice, especially sometimes like with certain weather, like last year when we were there for HHN. There was a huge rainstorm coming, thunder, all that. So they shut down the water taxi. So we had to walk to studios, and it really wasn't that bad.
And we hustled.
We did hustle.
Get me
it's
out of
pouring
this
rain.
place when it's raining. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Ponchos.
Mhm.
Poncho.
They're the real ones. Okay, let's talk about the rooms here. They have lots of configurations. I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm just kind of going to hit a couple of highlights because we're already giving you enough, right?
No, I think the people want more detail.
No, I'm good. I'm good, thanks. Normally I am like the completionist from top to bottom, but there was too many things and I was like, my brain cannot comprehend all of these different configurations for these suites that they have. But that being said, the standard rooms here are your 2 queen rooms. You can request in these ones a rollaway cot for a 5th sleeper if you would like to, which is nice that they have the ability to do that. Now, the range for these standard rooms is fascinating because I found them in some places as low as $280 a night. But on other weeks, they were closer to $500 a night. So it's a very, very large window that you're looking at. Again, gonna depend on time of year, events that are happening, all of that type of thing. They do also have a standard 1 king room option that will cost you quite a lot more, which again, very interesting. Anywhere from around $290. That's not a 2, that's a 4. $490. Sorry. $490 to $515. So if you're looking for 1 king, don't know that it's really worth it. Just go with the 2 queens at that point.
Yeah, unless you really have your heart set and have recently won the lottery, perhaps just stick with the 2 queens.
Right? Like, I don't know that it's worth it. Use the 2nd queen as your you can lay out all your clothes and all your stuff all over it. So
What we do.
Literally, that's
Yeah.
what we do.
That's our preparation station.
Exactly. And now they do also have king suites, which are a king bed and a sleeper sofa. So 4 guests, but only 3 adults because apparently the sleeper sofa, you're not allowed to put 2 adults on it. Who knew? Again, I don't know.
And that's policing this. I want to know.
I mean, the reservations when you have to sign up and put
yeah.
people's ages in.
6 foot tall King Joy. He's still acing.
It's just so interesting to me. Yeah, some of these, like the twins, okay, I could maybe understand. But like a sleeper sofa, it looked to be like a full size when I was looking at photos and configuration. Like
2 adults could comfortably fit.
You could fit on that. If it's a choice at that point, like let them choose to sleep on that.
I've
Anyway,
slept on floors before in hotel rooms. I'm not above swishing on a pull-out. I'm fine.
We're good. In fact,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So those are looking in the 515 to 545 range. Those do still have the separate bath and vanity areas. And they just have a lot more amenities in those suites than your standard rooms, with chairs and fancy TVs and a half bath and a wet bar in that one, which, that's
Ooh.
kind of interesting. They also have just your a kids suite as well, which is that king bed, 2 twin beds. Again, you can request a rollaway for this, so it can sleep up to 5 guests, but you cannot put adults in the twin beds. Yeah, it's just a thing. So those are going to be anywhere from 590 to around 645, again, dependent on the time of year. And they have several other configurations in this resort, including sapphire suites, 3-bedroom suites, presidential suites, and those all range anywhere from the 600s to the 1200s per night, depending on what you're looking for and all of that.
Many options.
Yes,
many
very,
options.
very many options for
Too
sure.
many, one might say.
All right. So the next hotel in the I'm forgetting what it's called now. Oh my gosh.
The signature.
The signature collection. There we go.
Just signature collection.
Signature.
Not-
I'm just calling it
I'm very tired.
Just say
signature.
That's right. Just cut it off at the knees. It won't be a problem. Signature.
The signature hotel. So we have the Helios Grand Hotel, which there is kind of somewhat limited details about it. It is one of the newest resorts. It is the resort that is right like on property of Epic Universe. So this is described as having a celestial theme, and an elegant Mediterranean inspired feel. I feel like those are like very conflicting things.
So the vibe. So it's okay. Not to come in here and defend Universal's PR team here, but like it is again like it's very difficult to describe. So please just like pause this, pull out your phone, or even better, let this keep playing in the background while you're googling this, because when you see the Mediterranean like inspiration, you can see it's mostly in like the architecture,
Mm.
but like the theming inside
Okay.
is to match Celestial Park because that's where you walk out
Yeah.
into.
It gives like bougie Jasmine vibes
Yes,
a little bit.
absolutely. I was like, oh, this is like fancy, like
Yeah.
this is like Agrabah Palace,
Yes,
right?
it's
Like,
very Agrabah-esque.
yeah, like I was like, maybe that's like more Middle Eastern than Mediterranean, but like I can
Right.
see the leap in the Mediterranean, but like I can
Right.
see the leap, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, mm-hmm.
So it is a pretty small resort. There are only 500 rooms, and 35 of those rooms are suites. So that is very small.
Which I'm surprised at. If you look at this thing, it looks colossal, but
Yeah.
it's prime real estate. They wanted to minimize their footprint. I don't know.
hmm So as I said, you do have your own entrance into Epic Universe, and then there are buses to the other resort locations. So there is a pool at this resort, a fitness center, a game room, and for food options, there is a full day restaurant, a rooftop bar, a pool bar, and then a grab and go pantry style location.
Which I just need to tell on myself a little bit. They called it a 3-meal restaurant, and my brain was like three course, so it was only open for dinner. Like I really struggled, perhaps more than an adult should have, in comprehending. And I was like, oh, 3-meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's open all day. Okay, I got it.
Got it.
We're there. I got there.
And we should note that at the time that we are recording this resort is not yet open.
Correct. We have seen some glam shots, mostly concept art, and these descriptions we just took right from Universal's website itself.
So we don't have it. That's why we don't really have a ton of detail. But let's talk about the rooms, because that is something that we were able to find online, because they are open for booking, of course.
They're happy to charge that credit
Yes.
card. You just cannot see inside yet.
Yeah. Right. Sight unseen. Here we go. So
Waiting inspection.
Right, literally. Oh my gosh. So your standard rooms can be either 1 king or 2 queen. So they don't separate them here, which is, different than what we just saw. So who knows?
Then literally what we said 3 minutes ago.
It up as they go along.
Pretty much.
Fine.
It's fine. They are going to run you around $420 to $450 a night for a standard room. It can be more. I think opening is looking closer to like the 600 range, if I'm not mistaken. So again, that was later in the summer that I looked at that price, just to kind of get a more appropriate ballpark number. They have king suites there, which again is the one king and sleeper sofa with the rollaway requests available for $745 to $785. This is the first resort that we've talked about that has an extensively themed kids suite. So at this resort, you get a completely immersive How to Train Your Dragons kids suite. And the photos look amazing.
They look so good.
Amazing. So if you have a kiddo that is a How to Train Your Dragon kiddo, pinch your pennies, gather everything you can, figure it out, because that will give you a one king, 2 twin, and sleeper sofa set up. But it's gonna run you anywhere from $1,290 to around $1,485 a night.
It's
So
pricey.
mhm.
It's so
Yep.
good.
It's absolutely gorgeous inside.
I was when I heard this again 2 years ago at this point that they were going to have a How to Train Your Dragon themed suite. I'm like, okay, like that sounds kind of cute. Kind of expecting, a little theming, maybe like a
Right.
like a themed headboard or a shower
Right.
curtain or something. But like
Mhm.
they went all in, and I don't even want to give more details. Please look it up for yourselves.
Yeah.
The photos that they have released so far, I can't wait to see somebody do a full walkthrough. They look great.
Yeah, imagine like those super immersive Airbnbs that you see online in the area, right? There's lots of Harry Potter ones and other sort Disney ones and all of that. Imagine that, but Universal done in their own resort for
So
How to Train Your Dragon.
Legoland has something that is somewhat comparable. If anybody has taken their kids or as an adult gone to Legoland and picked one of the theme suites, they are of similar level to those, I would
Mhm.
say.
I would agree. Yeah. Super, super immersive. Absolutely amazing, beautiful inside. That being said, there are several other suite options that are not How to Train Your Dragon themed.
If you want to be plain
Boring. No.
it's totally fair, guys.
Yes.
Just because I desperately want to pretend like I am a dragon rider, I understand why somebody may not want that.
Right. Right. So, again, lots of different options. I'm not going to go into all of the different configurations that they have, but their other suite options generally range 1,500 to 2,000. So similar in range to that kids suite, which is kind of nice that they didn't completely price gouge that suite because of the theming. It's still expensive. Don't get me wrong. That is astronomically outside of my budget that I would be able to spend.
Absolutely.
But it is an option, and I think any of the rooms that you're going to get there are going to be great because you're literally looking outside to Epic Universe.
Yeah, you physically walk out the door and you are in the park. So this is going to be a slightly pricier hotel in general, but overall, not the crazy prices that I think myself and everybody else were expecting.
Right. Well, I mean, when you think about comparing it to, I mean, the closest thing that we really can compare it to are some of these Disney resorts that are like monorail resorts, right?
Sure,
So
like
Grand
the Poly.
Floridian, Poly, Contemporary, those are not that same price level. I mean,
Nope.
you can get them in the $400 range. That's the moderate range at Disney.
Right.
Yeah, that's like total off season.
Yes. So thinking about that. Now, granted, these are your signature light, like we were talking about. They don't have some of those bonuses, but something to consider if you're looking for higher amenities and better proximity, because yes, you have the monorail resorts, but you literally walk outside of the Helios to go to Epic Universe.
And you still also get early entry. This cannot be emphasized enough.
Right.
As a resort guest, you still get early entry.
Yes.
Now, of course, that also applies to anybody else that is on property, so it's not like it's just going to be you, but it does give you an advantage, just like early morning hours at Disney. It does matter, and it will help you in your planning to be able to knock out one, maybe even two of the rides before a general admission would open up.
Yes. Now, the one thing that is a little bit different from Disney Deluxe, if we're thinking about that in comparison, is that Disney Deluxe does have several nights a week. They have those extra bonus deluxe hours. Universal doesn't currently have anything that is comparable to that at that top signature level. So that is a little bit of a difference when it comes to the on-property perks. Whether or not that matters to you,
It's
may
consideration.
help you make your decision with that.
Yeah.
So. Okay, I think we've exhausted everything we can about the Helios.
Because
Let's
we
talk
all
about.
Because we have no more information.
Literally,
Keep going.
we got nothing else.
I could maybe use Jess's phone and pull up a picture, but like that's really derailing a podcast.
Yeah, so let's talk about the true signature
Yes.
collection hotels.
So like we said, there are 3 within like the actual signature highest level full amenities express pass signature collection. So the first one that we're going to talk about is the Loews Royal Pacific. A lot of these hotels are Loews hotels, by the way. Almost all of them actually. A Helios is one, Royal Pacific is one, Portofino Bay, which is another one we're going to talk about, is one. Sapphire Falls. So like a lot of them are actually I think Hard Rock too. Anyway, a lot of them are these Loews hotels.
And that is Loews, not like
Yes.
Lowe's the hardware store.
Yes.
Just putting that out there.
Which I have had an autocorrect betray me more than once.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, so we'll start with Royal Pacific. This is, the name might give it away, but is Pacific Island themed, right? Like
What?
it's the closest that I can think of is the Poly at Disney, right? This is a little bit more aggressing, that's not a word, aggressive in its theming than some of the other resorts, but it's still not like smack you in the face, a violently themed.
Like the little frogs as you're walking up
Yes.
the
Oh my god, it's so cute. There's a little pathway lined with carved frogs, and I love them.
They're all playing instruments and stuff. It's the cutest.
They're my friends. I love them.
That's so cute.
But yeah, so in terms of size, it's a pretty sizable resort. There is 1,000 rooms here, with 51 of them being luxury suites. So luxury suites are like slightly larger than some of the other suites. They also have the club level and presidential suites, just like we were talking about with Sapphire Falls. And they also have, they call it a lagoon style swimming pool. I have not actually checked out the swimming pool, and I couldn't find clear pictures that describe to me what a lagoon style swimming pool was. But that's what they're advertising it as. But they also have like a little kids beach area that kind of backs up to the pool. So if your kids are really, you're thinking about maybe things that they can do in a resort day or something, there is like a little beachy area next to the pool.
Mhm.
There is also a huge ship next to the pool at Royal Pacific with like water features that kids can go hang out and play in, and I'll call it splash pad adjacent. I did forget that they had that there. But also, so if you are like into pool days at the resort, that's a great option for you guys.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk about the rooms that they have here to offer. So again, we're talking Royal Pacific. We got a little sidetracked there for a minute. Let's
Sorry, guys.
bring it back. So at the Royal Pacific, standard rooms, they do have 2 queen or 1 king configurations, anywhere from $516 to about $760 per night. They have a king suite option that is, again, that 1 king and a pullout that will sleep, again, 4 but only 3 adults, because that's the way Universal
Technicality.
rolls. And those are $660 to about $976. Your kids suite here is a Jurassic World theme. So if you've got little dino fans, that is a great option if this is your price range that you're looking for. It is a advice on our price range either. I don't know where.
We stayed there once, and it was by accident because we picked the wrong hotel.
Oh no. Oopsies.
It was nice. It
Right.
was great. It was expensive, but it was nice.
Yep. So in that Jurassic World Kids Suite, you've got, again, that 1 king. They have a sleeper sofa in with the king there, and then the 2 twin beds. So we'll sleep 5 total, but 3 adults. So
The math is mathin'.
yeah. But again, those kid suites, because of the theming, because of all of the above, $11.45 to about $18.25 a night, depending on time of year. And again, they do have club level hospitality suites. There we go, available as well for upwards of $2,000 a night, basically. So if that's within your price range, take a look at the other suite options that they have. Again, that Jurassic World suite is completely immersive, really great theming. Not quite to the extent that we saw with the How to Train Your Dragon one we talked about earlier, because I think they just like, they're a little bit older, right? They've been around a little bit longer, so they learned some things and applied it to the new one. So
Yes. Excellent way to put it. Lessons learned. Okay, so after Royal Pacific, the next one in this set of 3 of the true signatures is Portofino Bay. So this is themed to Portofino, Italy, and it is bonkers because when you walk inside, we have also stayed here. When you walk inside, it is, again, I would like to clarify, by accident. We picked the wrong hotel.
I also feel like these used to be much cheaper.
Yes. Also, no.
too.
You know what
Like-
happens is we got HHN packages. That's I'm being funny by saying that we stayed there by accident, but truly what happened is we got great deals for horror nights
Right.
because of the weekend that we were going. So like that really made it affordable. This was at a time when they were running like crazy deals. I think it was still like during some of the slowdown for COVID. So like
Mhm.
they were really throwing a lot of room discount
Yeah,
rates and
right.
ticket discount rates and things like that. So we have stayed at Portofino, Sapphire Falls, and Royal Pacific. Obviously Sapphire Falls is the one that we keep going back to, but we have stayed at these 3 during our HHN weekends. But Portofino Bay is literally like they took a small, adorable cobblestone Italian street and stuck it in a hotel. And I'm not even kidding.
Inside the hotel?
Inside the
Really
hotel.
incredible.
It's literally like I'm gonna see if I can find pictures from our vacation that don't look blurry because I'm running around like a lunatic, so excited. But it's literally like 2 small buildings and then a cobblestone street that are going around, and there are gift shops on the left, and there's like a ticketing counter on the left, and then a gift shop on the right, and like it's really interesting because it sounds insane, but it fits perfectly within it, right? Like it makes, I don't know how to explain it other than it makes sense to have 2 fake buildings and a fake alleyway with cobblestone streets within this hotel. It seems crazy,
Right.
but it really works, and it really like sells the theming in an odd but workable way.
Okay, perfect.
So, in addition to the cobblestone street, there's also 3 swimming pools that are here, and there is a Roman aqueduct themed slide that lands into the biggest of the pools. So again, they're really like selling the Italy vibe. As far as size goes, you would think this would be the biggest because they fit 2 whole mock buildings in there, but it's not. It's sizable. It's got 750 standard rooms, or 750 rooms, with 45 of those being suites. There's also a ton of dining options here. So if you are a hotel person that maybe is taking like a longer trip and this is within your budget, staying there on property, there's a lot of hotel options or food options, including some of the best gelato that I have ever had. It was delicious. I did not think that theme park gelato could taste that good. It was wonderful, I must say.
Yeah, this is like an insanely beautiful hotel. And I don't think we've mentioned like transportation to the parks from any of these hotels, but all of the signature hotels have the water taxis to and from the parks. And this one, when you walk out, like it really looks like you're walking out onto like the bay in Italy. Like
Yes.
it's so incredibly themed and just super nice. So yeah, it's a beautiful hotel. Like I walked in and I was like, I'm too poor to be here. I can't. Like this is
not
in my tax bracket.
This is not my tax bracket. That's right.
Yeah.
100%. I'm like, shout out to them deals because
Right.
this is a once in a
Never
lifetime
happen
hotel
again,
stay.
but it is gorgeous.
Yeah. But you know what?
Yep. Me
Truly-
walking into the Grand Floridian, like,
Yes,
I don't
that's-
belong here.
That's a good.
Yep.
That's a good way to put it. But I truly mean it that Universal throws these random surprise deals out. So if you have minimal obligations, or you have kids but maybe have a flexible schedule, or you just happen to catch one of these really great deals like we did, Portofino it's really worth it for like a nice weekend, especially if you're like focusing on the hotel. It's beautiful.
Nice. So let's talk about the rooms.
Yes.
A couple different configurations that they have. They do have just your standard king room, 1 king, which is going to be around $564 to $600, depending. 2 queen option is $545 to $780. Again, don't know why that's a different range, but it is a different range. The kids' suites here are Despicable Me themed. which is super fun. If you like yellow, it's a lot of yellow. So just look at the picture before you make a decision on that one. They're so bright yellow.
It's violently yellow.
Yep.
I think there was a whole book about why staring at yellow wallpaper isn't good for you.
Anyway. But these have the same configuration as the other suites that we were talking about, with the 1 king and 2 twin beds with the rollaway option available. Again, no adults in the twin beds. And those will run you $11.90 to $15.30, same range that we saw with the other kids suites that we were looking at. And again, they have club level, deluxe suites and presidential suites available, anywhere from starting at $1,400 all the way up through like $6,000 a night. So depending on what you're looking for, they've got an option for you if that's your price range.
Premium.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Premium.
Yeah, literally the presidential suites are like $6,000 a night.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Maybe if I won the lottery. Okay, so our final on-property Universal hotel is the Hard Rock Hotel. So the Hard Rock Hotel is literally whatever you're picturing. The answer is yes, right? It is a luxury hotel, right? I don't want to take away from that. It is still a luxury hotel. It is in that signature level with insane levels of rock and roll theming, right? Like very cool memorabilia all throughout the lobby. Everywhere you look, you like will just wander into a room looking for ice, and it's like, oh, that's Prince's guitar on the wall. You know what I mean? Like literally every nook and cranny has rock and roll theming at this hotel. Now, the other big draw of staying at Hard Rock, other than seeing Cher's boots, is that Hard Rock has its own dedicated entrance into Universal Studios. So just as Helios has an entrance into Epic, this was the original one to that, and this has its own dedicated entrance where you can walk right into Universal Studios.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's like on the medium side as compared to all of these other hotels that we've been talking about. It's got 650 rooms, 29 of them are suites. And if you really like the theming of Hard Rock, but maybe don't want to stay there, you can eat at the Hard Rock Cafe. And then you can still see all kinds of fun memorabilia and have like a pretty good cheeseburger.
No.
It's pretty good.
So true.
It's pretty good.
I can't remember the last time I ate at a Hard Rock. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been, I think the last one that we ate at was this one.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago. Now that I'm thinking about it, we were really beat. We couldn't decide what to eat, and I was like, it was like the promised land opened up, and I was like, Hard Rock. Mac and cheese bites, a burger. What more could you want?
Great.
Truly.
Perfect for what you need after a day at the theme parks, for
That's
sure.
it. Listen, it's a Hard Rock Cafe. Everybody listening knows exactly what they're going to get when they walk in that location. It is what it is.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
Okay, let's talk about the rooms here. Again, you have your standard 2-queen option, anywhere from $600 to about $900 a night. So we're definitely in that signature range. They do have a deluxe king room, which is the 1 king and sleeper sofa combination. So they don't have that as a suite, which we saw kind of in the other ones, but they do just have a deluxe king option, which is a unique option for this. And that's going to be in the $930, $940 range for that. They do have a themed kids suite, but it's not Universal IP. It is called the Future Rockstar Kids Suite. So you can kind of envision what that may look like. The photo that I saw online had a not Taylor Swift picture in one of them.
Yep.
Because I don't think they can use her likeness painted on their wall without, paying her a pretty penny. So that gives you an idea. Again, that 1 king to
Sailor Myth. Definitely not copyright infringing. Sailor Myth.
Do we at least get like Cher's boots or something as decor in the room?
I don't know, man. I'm not really sure what all they... I don't know that they would willingly put real memorabilia in a kid's suite room,
That's
Jess.
valid.
So, Again, same configuration, one king one king with two twins and the rollaway option available in that same range, 1175 to 1525, a little cheaper on the range with that kids suite than the other ones. But basically because of the theming, honestly. But this hotel does also have 2 and 3 bedroom suites available, which not all of the other signature levels do. And those are in like the 2,000 to 2,700 range. So if you're looking for a suite that is maybe a little bit more affordable, not maybe quite so elaborate, and you don't mind the hard rock theming, this would be a really good option if that's your price range.
Who doesn't love a little kitschy moment now and again?
All right.
Okay, so I think that's the end of our official time with our Universal resorts. Yeah, we've been talking for a while, but we still got more information coming your way.
Covered in a marathon pace.
That was about as quick as we possibly could. But we have a few more things to talk about. We're going to give you some more info before we end today.
Yes.
What do we want to tell them about partner hotels at Universal?
So I will just kind of breeze through this. So the partner hotels don't offer any of the benefits that were mentioned with the hotels. No early entry, no lightning lanes, express passes.
I kept doing it.
None of that. So that is something to consider. Sometimes there may be exceptions if they're offering certain vacation packages when you're booking. So, pay attention to that. There are shuttles to and from the parks with these resorts. But it's very limited where there might just be like a few that run in the morning and then a few that run in the afternoon. And you usually have to reserve that with your hotel. So again, something else to kind of be mindful of. And there are about 10 of them as of when we're recording this podcast. But sometimes that kind of fluctuates throughout the year. So just kind of check on the Universal website as you're booking if you're considering staying at one of these partner hotels. But again, I feel like with Disney, you get a lot more with the partner resorts. Here, it's not quite as much. This is kind of where they fall short in the hotel category to me. But
Yeah. And again, using a travel agent can be very helpful if you're looking for partner hotels that you want something Universal adjacent, but you don't want to stay on property for whatever reason. Keep that in mind.
Yep.
Also, just a brief suggestion that I will say, if you are someone who is looking at all of these resorts for the first time and you're like, this is a lot of information, what does this mean for the Disney options? Well, Kate and I, way back in the depths of Mom Street USA, did like 4 episodes on all of the Disney resorts because there's a lot more of them. So
Maybe
if
like 1 or 2.
yeah. So if you're looking for the Disney equivalent of all the information that we just gave about Universal, those are back in our archives, which is available on our Mom Street USA YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those places. Episodes 6, 8, 9, and 10 of Mom Street will give you all of those different price ranges because we had to do 1 episode for value, 1 episode for moderate, and 2 for deluxe because there were too many.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So if you're looking for the Disney equivalent to all of this information, check those out to help you with that. And I think with that ends our time with the hotels finally after this long of a time. So let's talk about tickets.
Hooray! All right, so you decided that you're going. You're ready to. You got your hotel picked out, but now you're wondering, what ticket should I buy? Well, the answer's not that simple. No.
And we are not going into all of the details. We are going to streamline as much as possible
to
give you
be clear.
overview.
The fact that because Universal parks are ticketed separately, it's kind of similar to Disney where you needed to make reservation there for a while, right? But you don't just buy a ticket and show up to a park. I mean, I guess you kind of do, but their parks can be ticketed separately. So like because of the way that this works, it can get very complicated. And also Volcano Bay can be thrown in the mix. Like you can do 2 parks one day, 3 parks one day. Like it gets very complicated very quickly. So because of that, we're going to give you like the base tickets between the 1 day and the 2 day selections. And then as you go out from there, the 3, 4, 5+ days, they'll all follow the same pattern of the combination. So we're giving you the base level combinations and then go forth with whatever you may be selecting for your personal vacation. Important thing before we actually jump into the ticket tiers and things like that is there is technically an adult ticket and a child ticket. There's not usually a significant difference between the two. It's usually like $5 to $10 price difference. I mean, that matters when you have a larger family.
Right.
It adds up very quickly. But we're only, for the sake of the fact that we've already been podcasting for like what feels like an eternity here. And I love this and I love all this information. But so that everyone's brains aren't melting, we are only going to be giving you adult ticket prices to help keep things clear. And 2 and under are free. 3 to 9 is who qualifies for that child ticket, and then 10 and up is the adult ticket.
And that is the same as what you find at Disney, price comparison and the ages and all that kind of stuff. So that's at least easy to remember.
Yeah, pretty standard between the two parks, and I think that makes sense, right? We can't have too many differences when it comes to age classification. That would just be is a little silly.
Right. So we are going to give you some universal prices. I am going to just kind of also put in a comparison Disney price just to give you guys kind of a ballpark, because I know a lot of our listening audience is used to Disney ticket prices.
Yeah.
So to jog your memory, we'll kind of do a little bit of both hopping around. So we're not trying to confuse you. We're just trying to give you all the numbers to make it make sense to anybody who's comparing.
All right. So we're going to start off with the 1-day ticket options. So there is a 1-day, 1-park option. So this will be for just one of the parks for a single day. So for Islands of Adventure, Universal Studios, Epic Universe, or Volcano Bay. So Islands and Studios typically start at $119, with the prices mostly being in the $150 to $160 range.
I'm sorry, really quick. I totally forgot to just like throw this chunk of methodology out when I was looking at these prices. So what we have listed as the starting price is when you go and you look on the website, they'll say tickets starting at $119, but starting at is like in tiny, tiny font. You would not notice it unless you were really looking for it. So that is the technicality that they start at $119 on like the lowest, least busy days.
Like
So
1 day a year.
that's right. So we put like the lowest. That's same thing at Disney, same thing at every
Disney
theme
does
park.
that too.
And so this is not unique to them, but just to be clear,
Right.
because it's gotten me a couple times. So when you're looking at the website, it'll say starting at. I tried to look at like some of the peak times, similar to what Jackie did, kind of like between May-ish and August-ish, which is when I figured most people would go. And for a couple of these tiers, I gave examples of what the busiest times would be, right? Like around, think like Christmas, New Year's.
Right.
So I didn't do it for everyone, but just to give you an idea of what the price range difference could be.
Yeah.
So sorry, please continue.
No, it's okay. So yeah, the 150 to 160 range is like the average. Peak pricing, so think like Christmas and New Year's, is going to be around $179. For Epic Universe, the pricing starts at $139, so a little bit more expensive, but that's their newest theme park. But it's kind of generally hovering around the $170 range. Volcano Bay starts at $90, and then it is around $100, is like kind of the average, and the most expensive season, which would be summer for the water park, the peak is kind of around $110.
And so to give you the Disney comparison of that, the Disney 1-day park price starts again at that $119. So fascinating. They start at the same number, and generally sit around that $150, $159 per day, depending on which park. So Disney's is broken down in that same way. I'm not getting into it now, just giving you a general comparison. Animal Kingdom is the cheapest, so it's going to be on the lower end of that. Magic Kingdom is the most expensive. It's going to be on the upper end of that, depending on time of year, date, crowd level, all that good stuff.
So then we have the 1-day kind of multi-park option. So there is the 1-day 2-park option. So this will be for moving freely between Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios. So basically think your park hopper at Walt Disney World. So there is currently not an Epic Universe option for this though. So you can't do like a 1-day 2-park between like Studios and Epic Universe as of right now. Maybe that will change in the future. I'm sure it will, but the parks are just opening, so I think they kind of want to see and give out some time.
I don't think we're gonna see that at Epic for another 10 years, maybe, but
Who knows?
still future. Okay, 7 years, fine.
If it's more money, they will do it.
But because they're going to keep adding and adding, I don't know that they're gonna just let everybody move freely between the main 2 parks and Epic anytime in the near future. But eventually, yeah, probably.
Very true.
So for Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, this two-park option starts at $174. The prices kind of hover closer to $200 for an adult ticket, and the peak is, at Christmas and New Year time, $235 is, kind of the peak price that we see there.
Yeah, so the Disney equivalent would be just a one-day park hopper, right? That you could freely move between any of the four parks. And you're looking anywhere in the 197 to 242 per day range. Again, depending on crowd level, time of year, can go up, can go down, but kind of in a very similar price comparison for that.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the multi-day ticketing. I hate to do this, but I have a little bit of a preamble here. And the only reason that this is relevant for Universal versus Disney is because I'm pretty sure Disney also does something similar to this, but they do it in the background. So the way that Disney works is you're going through the ticketing site, you'll select your dates, and then you'll select your ticket. At Universal, you can do it the other way. Generally, if you're building a package, yes, of course, you'd select the dates. But if you are just buying tickets and getting a sense of pricing, you can select the calendar dates a little bit more fluidly and see what the price ranges may or may not be. So with the multi-day ticket, it's a little confusing because the prices are based on the first day that you are selecting for your time range, right? So let's say you're looking at 2-day tickets. With 2-day tickets, you have to use those tickets on any 2 days within a 5-day consecutive period, right? Let's say you're looking to purchase on the 1st, you have to use those tickets by the 5th, but you can use them any 2 days within that time range. Because you have selected the 1st as the first day that your tickets will be active, your pricing will be based on the 1st. Now, it sounds a little silly, but you can see that there's like distinctly large gaps between, or I guess like a wide range between the prices, even in a single week. So it may be worth your while to do some investigation and understanding the pricing when you're building out your vacation of when do I really want this package to start? How flexible are my days? What am I looking to do here? And the more days that you have, of course, the longer range that you have to use it. I think 5 days, it's like 8 consecutive days and so on and so forth. So just something to keep in mind that your pricing is picked on the first day that you are selecting within that range that the tickets are active.
Yeah, so Disney's is a little bit different, but it also will give you like a month breakdown and show you every single day how much that ticket is going to cost you. So you can do similar things at Disney, but it doesn't necessarily lock you into that day one price when it comes to the Disney stuff. It will vary and fluctuate based on what the calendar says. So similar approach if you're trying to find the cheapest time to go, look at those day-to-day ticket prices because they can jump by 20, 30, $40 day to day.
Yeah.
So
It
again,
can be shocking. It really can matter, which is it seems like a silly, complicated detail to bring up in hour 12 of this podcast or whatever, but like it really does matter from a trip planning perspective, like especially when you have a larger family or like if you're on a very strict budget, when you are making these decisions, we want to make sure that you are as informed as possible. So it seems silly, but the price jump can be very dramatic. Like I saw from like one Saturday to a Monday was like I think it was like $75. Like it is a shocking jump. And you multiply that by 4, and that's like a whole extra ticket. So it matters.
well, and it may just be as simple as shifting your long weekend from a Friday, Saturday, Sunday to a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and it may save you $50, which again, that's $50 you can spend on food or merchandise or airfare or whatever it may be. But it may be just as simple as shifting your dates a little bit one way or the other to get you a decent discount.
Yes.
Yeah.
Buy $50 worth of voodoo donuts. It's worth it.
Worth it.
Worth it. Okay. So now that preamble is out of the way, we have the understanding of how Universal is actually pricing when you have these multi-day tickets. So we'll look at the 2-day, 1 park per day tickets. So this will be 1 park per day with Islands of Adventure and Studios, 1 park each day. So that will start at $116, but generally is closer to that $160, and that's what holds true through most of the year.
And the Disney equivalent is a range between 124 and 169 per day. Again, closer to typically 149, 159 throughout the majority of the year for that one. And just a general note for Disney tickets, and I'm not 100% sure if Universal is this way or not. Duck and Jess, you guys can correct me, but for Disney at least, your day-to-day tickets are going to be cheaper the more days you buy. So your per day cost goes down the more days you buy.
So that is technically true, but it does not come in the form that you are thinking it does, like it does for Disney. Usually it comes in the form of like a discount that they're like, here's a deal, right? Because I think that's just the marketing that they have found works better. It is essentially the same thing, but it is the form that they are giving it to you in that's a little bit different. Where Disney's is always like, stay longer, spend less. Universal's like, look at this great deal that we have, right? Like we handpicked this for your vacation
Stay
package.
4 days, get
Right.
2 free.
Right. So
Things
it's
like that.
it is all essentially the same thing. Like it all comes out in the wash, but that's usually the way that they'll end up doing it, where it's like the stay 3 days, get a day free or whatever. So
Right.
like, yes, technically it ends up being the same, but it's just different methods of getting that deal to you.
Right.
And so the Universal's very big on the building the vacation package, as is Disney, more so than other theme parks, right? They want you to stay on property and spend all of your money and your time there, and they want to keep you on their resort property, right? So like totally 100% from a business standpoint. It's the same concept as Disney, but the way that they package it is a little bit different.
Okay, so let's talk about 2-day one
Yes.
park, right?
So so we're still on 2-day one park. That what I gave was the IOA or okay, so 2-day one park per day. Now that was just for IOA and Studios, 1 day each park. If you want Islands of Adventure or Studios 1 day and Epic the second day, it is a different tier because Epic is new and shiny, and they're just like throwing out ticket packages, like slowly rolling them out. So this was one of the earlier ones. So for this, it starts at 126 per day, but also hovers around that 160. So it's not really a different price, but it is a different, like technically a different package. So it's important when you're going through. It's clear to read. It's difficult to explain. They'll clearly say 3 parks, 2 days, or what have you, and they'll list out what is included. And say move freely between X, Y, and Z, and second day here, or something like that. So very overwhelming.
Yes.
In that case,
we've
where a
got-
travel agent might be helpful.
Yeah. Hey, good plug. Travel agents, they are your friends.
Yes. Okay, we've got 2 more options to talk to you about before we move on.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So 2 more. So hang in there, gang. So we have a 2-day 3 park, which is 1 day you can move between Islands of Adventure, Studios, or Volcano Bay, and then the second day would be Epic. So this is $156 is the starting price, and typically it's around $170, really just tacking on that $10 for the Volcano Bay access.
That's so funny. So this is closely equivalent to your 2-day park hopper at Disney. And the range for that is going to be 161 to 213 a day, again, depending on what parks you're doing, what day you're going, and all of that jazz. Again, the more days you buy at Disney, the cheaper per day your tickets become.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. That's at least a little bit about tickets.
Yeah.
Jess, what else do you have for us about tickets before we move on to express passes?
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of already touched on it, but Universal really does a lot of vacation packages. And so sometimes there are like those ticket only offers where if it's, like right now for the opening of Epic Universe, there's like if you buy 2 parks, you get 2 free.
2 days.
2 days free.
If you
Sorry.
want a whole park and got 2 parks free, what a deal on a
Right.
scale.
My brain is like not processing things anymore at this point. But yeah, so buy, 2 days, get 2 days free. Or sometimes there's room deals, for example, like I say at Nova or Terra for 4 plus nights, and then you get 30% off. So that's, Universal knows their tickets are quite expensive. So they really do, offer those packages to help make things more affordable. And again, ticket packages like revolving around things like HHN and stuff like that. So really, pay attention to the time you're going and what is offered in terms of, packages and deals.
And we'll talk more about packages that are offered around like the events. I think probably next episode. We tried, gang. This exploded in scope, but
We're in the home stretch. We got
close.
We're
So
almost there.
last topic, I swear, and then I will be quiet. I swear. But it's really it's expensive. There's no doubt, especially once you get into add-ons and you know, express passes if they're not offered from your resort if you want to add them on. If you're going to something like Halloween Horror Nights, they have an express pass, but that's separately ticketed. There's the Stay in Scream, which is separately ticketed. So like all of these things really can add up, but they really have some bundles that are well thought out to entice people, right? Like they're not stupid. They know that while it's expensive, the most important thing that they can do is get people onto their property.
Right.
And so they really have a lot of deals throughout the year, not just around, we keep talking about HHN because that's our experience and also we're spooky. But like they really do offer a lot of deals throughout the year. So I said it before, please subscribe to I don't work for Universal. I swear I'm not in their marketing team, but like subscribing to their emails is how we have been aware of some really good deals that we have gotten. So just keep an eye out. Or also TA is a very valid and it's probably slightly less overwhelming option.
Yeah, well, and you'll often see Disney and Universal go back and forth with some of these deals that they have, right?
Oh, yes.
Universal rolls out a deal and Disney goes, "Oh, well, we'll roll out this deal." And then Universal counters and back and forth. And I think Universal is better at promoting their deals than Disney tends to be. Disney deals are harder to find on the website and do tend to get more buried. They'll like do a press release and then like that's it. They don't
Yes.
they don't advertise it anymore. Whereas I feel like Universal does a little bit more with that. But that's just my algorithm on my social media. I don't know.
Meanwhile, I can't watch Hulu or Peacock or anything without getting 3 Universal ads in a night about their latest and greatest deal or Epic. It's
Right.
crazy.
Right. So it is what it is. They know how to bring people in either way. So they're just looking for deals. So don't get left behind paying full price. Find your deals that work for your dates that you're going to be there.
And you can always adjust a package. That's happened to us before where we've booked early for HHN and something better came out and we called them and they adjusted it no problem. So
Yep.
please be very kind to whoever you're talking to on the phone because they are working very hard and they're really wonderful. Universal team members are fantastic. We have knock on wood, not yet to have a bad experience. I feel like Disney cast members, rightly so, get a lot of love, but Universal team members are also
They're
like
really great.
they're really
Yeah.
just truly fantastic.
Absolutely. I love it. Love the team member love for sure. Okay, last topic for today. Let's talk just briefly about express passes. Okay, so I'm going to just give you the basic rundown. Not going to go into details. We're not going to talk about event specific stuff like Duck was mentioning, HHN stuff. That's next episode. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you haven't, because then you'll get notified whenever, we post things. Okay, so with the express passes, Universal's functions completely differently than Disney. So if you're someone that is used to the Disney Lightning Lane system, which is my jam, I don't love it, but I know a lot about it. It functions completely differently. Disney, you are glued to your phone. You're having to adjust and modify and mess with things all day long. Universals, you don't even have to touch your phone whenever you utilize their Express Pass system. So they have some more options based on what you would like. Now, Disney recently kind of released a similar option to what Universal has been offering. So I'll go over that in a minute, but I want to talk about the Universal options first. And again, always look on the website. Depending on what you need, you'll be able to figure out kind of by reading the details for all of these. So the way that the generic Universal Express option works is it will allow you to skip the regular line one time per participating ride and attraction. It's not every single one. There's a few that are not on the list at Universal Studios or Islands of Adventure. So the generic Express Pass still only exists for those two parks. That is going to run you anywhere from $119 to $319 per person. Again, depending on time of year, crowd level, event, all of that good stuff. Now, they just like within the last week-ish released the Universal Express for Epic. So Epic Universe has a completely separate option for express passes. And for that one, again, you can skip the regular line one time per participating ride and attraction at Universal Epic Universe. Again, not all of them. I think it's all but 2, if I'm remembering correctly from the Epic list,
Yeah.
that are
I think it's
included in Express.
everything except for the Frankenstein, Monsters Unchained, and it's the Harry Potter.
And I think Donkey Kong, I think it's 3.
Yes, you're right. It is
I think
also
it's
Donkey
3.
Kong.
Okay, so yes, keep that in mind. If those are the 3 that you're going for, this may not be a good option for you. But that is $129 to $329 per person per day. So similar range, $10 more for the Epic one than it is for the other one, which kind of makes sense because it's the new park and all that good thing. Now, I didn't
Such
look
huge ranges, though.
I know. And I didn't look at like opening day because I felt like that was just so these are literally just the ranges that Universal gives you on their website. I didn't go into specifics because it's too hard with Epic right now to compare. It's apples to oranges, right? You really don't know what it's going to look like until we get like until we get like a year down the road and the park has been open long enough for things to kind of even out across the board. Now, there is also what Universal calls the Universal Express Unlimited. So this is like a step up from the 2 passes we just talked about. This is not an option at Epic yet. Maybe in the future, we don't know. But this allows you to skip the regular line multiple times at participating rides and attractions. So again, not everything is included, but this does allow you multiple rides on those attractions at Universal Studios or Islands of Adventure.
And it's also important to know that there is no difference between what attractions are included or excluded between the tiers. If it does not take Express Pass, like Hagrid's magical motorbike creatures or whatever, like that does not have it. It has not had it, and for this foreseeable future, it will not. It does not matter if you get the unlimited or the standard. It will not be included in the Express. So the unlimited is really just like you can ride the participating attractions as many times as you want, and the standard is just one shot per participating ride.
Yes, exactly. So that one will run you $149 to $349 per person, which I thought was interesting that it's really only $30 more for the unlimited.
Jackie, that's how they get you.
I know, right?
Tell you, it works.
We end up doing it every time. Like, it's only $30. Whatever.
I regret to inform you, it works.
Listen, you saved money on your package deal.
Exactly.
That's it.
There you go. There you go.
And then when I get to ride the mummy 10 times, I'm very happy.
See, it's great. It's great. Okay, now they do also now have what they are calling the 3-park multi-day express pass. So this is I mentioned that the unlimited was not available at Epic. This is another option for Epic if you want to piggyback it with your other parks that you're going to. So this is a multi-day express pass. Again, details and terms and conditions and all of that can be found on the website. Not going over all of that. But the language that Universal uses, you can skip the regular line one time per participating ride and attraction at Universal Studios, Universal Islands of Adventure, and Epic Universe. So depending on your ticket, which we just talked about, you may be eligible for this pass based on what ticket you have if you've got one of those 2-day tickets that include Epic Universe as one of your options. So it's very much dependent for this one on what type of ticket you have purchased, because they're not going to let you necessarily purchase this unless they can see that you've got Epic and everything has to fall into place correctly for you to be eligible.
Buy a 3-day ticket for a 1-day Islands of Adventure pass. Not quite.
Right. So again, travel agents calling Universal, all of that is in your benefit for that. This pass is going to run $199 all the way up to $759 per person, because it is, now remember, it is a multi-day.
It is the 3 days.
So,
That's true.
Yes. So just keep that in mind. So you're not paying, it's not coming out that much every single day. You're paying for the length of that pass. So just keep that in mind.
That's a good point, because it's only like, I mean, I hate to say only, but like $80-ish more than the express standard, right? Like the standard one.
Right.
Okay, all right. So that
Yes.
the bundle again, like Universal is not stupid. When they bundle things.
Right. And it's going to vary based on, and again, I couldn't see in this category all of the vast options that they have because I don't have tickets and it doesn't work that way. So you need to look at what your options are because it may be cheaper to do the multi-day or it may be cheaper to pick and choose what days you want to use Express based on what parks you're going to, based on your ticket. It's a lot of trickle down effect when it comes to that type of thing when you're looking at these Express passes. So keep all of that in mind. And I do just want to mention Volcano Bay does have their own separate express. We haven't talked a ton about Volcano Bay, but I do just want to mention that it does have the express option, which is to skip the virtual line. So they utilize more of that at Volcano Bay, which again, we're not getting into a moment right now. But you can do that one time per participating ride and attraction at Volcano Bay. It starts as low as $19 per person, but that's because it's typically like for one ride. Right? You can buy it more individually. Think more like the Lightning Lane system kind of at Disney when it comes to Volcano Bay because you can purchase things more individually.
I think,
Or
sorry, not to cut you off,
you
but I
would
think what also might be a good comparison is if anybody has a Six Flags near them, they are called flash passes. So you can buy a flash pass that will cover the whole day, all rides, or you can buy a return time for a specific ride.
perfect.
So
Yeah.
that is probably more akin to what Volcano Bay does.
Yes. So that again starts at 19 per person per ride for that, excuse me, and then their unlimited version is $49 per person for all of the rides at Volcano Bay. Again, smaller area, smaller park, less things that you're going to go on, which is why you see the price difference.
Yeah, we were like, oh, and this pass is $2,000. Also, Volcano Bay is $49.99.
Literally. So, that all being said, that was a lot of numbers, I know, but I'm just going to run through a brief comparison. So Disney has their multi-pass lightning lane system, which is not the same function as what we see that Universal is utilizing, right? This is the standard option that is going to guarantee 3 rides for your starting park. It's going to run $19 to $39 per person, depending on your starting park, all that jazz and detail, which we've gone through already on Mom Street. Look back in our archives. We've done lightning lane episodes before. It doesn't function the same. That particular version does not function the same as Universal. So there's no real great comparison. Now, a few months ago, Disney announced their Premier Pass Lightning Lane. This is most closely aligned in their response essentially to Universal having this Express Pass. So the Premier Pass at Disney is most closely related to the the regular Express Pass at Universal. So regular Express Pass, we were seeing anywhere from $119 to $319, depending on which park you were going to. For Disney, the equivalent is $189 to $449 per person, depending on which park. So a little bit higher price point for their option. But the nice thing is that Disney really has it laid out by the 4 parks. So you're not going to be paying the higher premium if you don't want to ride the rides at that park. So it's a little bit different in that at Universal with your Express, no matter which of the 2 OG parks you're going to, you're going to pay the same price. Disney's is priced out differently. So that $189 is going to be your Animal Kingdom price. The $449 is going to be your Magic Kingdom price. So
Yeah.
again,
And it makes sense with the way that Disney does things versus the way that Universal does things, right? Because of simply the proximity and the way that it just made sense for Universal to break out those tickets historically.
Right.
They're now locked into breaking out those tickets that way, probably for the foreseeable future, if not
Right.
forever. Epic might change that a bit.
Right.
We'll have to see how their ticketing practices do or don't change in response to now them having this third park. But Disney has always had the 4 parks kind of separated out by price to some extent. So it makes sense that the Premier Pass would be broken out in the same way.
Right. And ever since they introduced the paid lightning lanes, it's pretty much been broken out that way. So for the past 5+ years, that's how it's been at Disney. So,
I've spent 5 years trying to figure out the system, and it still baffles me every day.
well, considering the fact in the last 5 years, I think we've had 4 different systems at Disney.
That's true.
Probably 5 now, including the Premier Pass system. It's so hard. Whereas Universal's just chilling over here like, hey, we've got Express Passes.
Yeah,
And that's
which
pretty
it's
much it. Okay, so that is, again, your sort of comparison between Express Passes and Lightning Lanes at Disney. Again, you can sort of compare. You can see where the price kind of looks similar. But again, this is historic, what Universal has used all along. Their price point obviously has changed and evolved as this is needed to, but just a little. But essentially, that is what Universal has used kind of all along for their skip the line process. Okay. We made it to the end of this episode, you guys. You did it. If you're still here with us, you're a real one. We love you.
You get a gold star and my undying
A
appreciation
virtual
and
gold
love.
star.
Thank you. Okay, here's me putting the gold star sticker on you. Thank you.
Boop. I love it. So, I hope that was helpful. I know it was a lot of information. I know it was a longer episode, but we wanted to kind of give you the rundown so you have a one-stop shop when you are starting really your booking. Last episode gave you kind of the overview to help you decide if Universal was right for you. This episode really gave you the, okay, you decided it is. Now, what do we need to look at? So here are your hotels, here's your tickets, here's Express. Those are the basic 3 things you need to start with in order to be able to book that vacation. Next episode, we are going to dive into some special events because Universal has some really fun special events and Duck is dying to talk about HHN. So we are going to talk about that next episode. So if you're curious about Halloween Horror Nights at Universal, the next episode, that is where we're starting, is with those events. And then we'll also start to, I don't think we're probably going to finish it in that 3rd episode. I think we're going to have to go 4. But we will start to jump into just a little bit more details about some of the attractions to give you an idea of if it's a good one for you. We can talk about things like if you've got motion sensitivity, is this a good option for you? If you've got littles, is this a good option for you? You know, a little bit more detail than we gave in the overview to help you really truly plan your day at whatever park it is that you are going to. So we'll start that next episode after we talk about events. Don't think we're going to finish it, so we'll have to find a breaking point in there. And that'll be kind of a 2-part within the mini series, so to speak, for that. So that's where we're headed next. Right? For sure. Now, I do want to mention that for our podcast lineup here, we are going to be taking a break from this Universal content coming up. We've got some schedule shifting with some travel from our lovely hub co-hosts. Not only Duck and Jess, but Stevie as well are also going to be traveling. So you've got me for a couple episodes coming up. So that is what's to come. But once we hop back to the hub with Duck and Jess, we will hop right back into this Universal content. It is just going to take us a couple episodes to get back into it. So I do apologize for that delay.
It lets everyone digest all of the wonderful Universal info that we have given them over 47 hours of content at this point, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you've got questions in the meantime about anything we've talked about,
I don't know how you
Universal,
could, but
or if you're like, oh man, I need that episode, but I'm because my trip is before then or whatever that may be, please reach out to us because we are happy to help you via message with any questions you have about Universal. I will direct you as needed to Duck and Jess and they can help you out. You can always find us momstreetusa@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at momstreetusa. Those are all great places to do so. You can also reach out to us via our good friend Kirk at Walrus Carp, his Walrus Carp Discord. There are Universal sections on that Discord along with our Mom Street section. So both of those places, you are welcome to ask questions. We've got a whole community over there that would love to help answer your questions. Although it is a Disney-centric community, we've got a ton of Universal friends and fans over there as well. So any of those places are a great way to reach out and ask us questions about Universal if you need it before we make our rounds back to the other theme park, if you will.
and I will.
But before we wrap today, Duck and Jess, do you guys have any final thoughts about these hotels and tickets and packages and express and all that good stuff?
I think I've emphasized enough about the packages that
Yeah.
Universal extends. I think that would really be closing thoughts, but we've belabored that point. I think the other thing is that when you are researching the hotels, there are plenty of walkthroughs on YouTube of literally every configuration possible, every suite, every room, every inch of the hotel has any hotel has been recorded and set in history on YouTube. So if you are between two hotels and you're like between say Surfside and Dockside and you're like, I'm not really sure what the vibe is, right? Like if that's what it's coming down to you for you, please, please, please just check out a walkthrough on YouTube. There's hundreds and thousands of them. And that is kind of what has helped us pick between hotels before. When they were both, say, being equivalent offerings for HHN before we really settled into enjoying Sapphire Falls. And I just want to plug Sapphire Falls again. It's an excellent resort.
Yeah, it is one of our favorite resorts. And I think the thing that I just want to point out with like Universal resorts, like really like the price comparison with Disney, like I feel like a lot of the time with Universal resorts, you can get an equivalent room for maybe even a cheaper price, depending on the deals and everything else. Like as we're kind of going through even their like mid-tier, kind of resorts are usually a little bit cheaper than even Disney's moderate resorts. So again, not that I don't love Disney resorts. They're wonderful and beautiful and I love them all. But Universal does have, I think comparable, if not maybe a little bit cheaper options. So, definitely don't knock, staying on Universal property next time you're going to the Orlando area.
Yeah, I think that the price comparison was really showcased. I feel like we, to hear us talk about those mid and upper level and talk about like, hey, you can't get a deluxe level Disney resort for that level, but you can get a signature collection resort for that level.
Yeah.
It's completely feasible that people will have some it's a tough decision to make. And so I hope that we helped people make a more educated decision for their particular needs if they are going to be doing both.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So, for our next podcast episode with me, we are going to be talking about specialty tours at the Disney parks. So, that is what is to come on our next episode of Mom Street USA. But for now, it is finally time for us to say farewell for this episode. So, thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of Mom Street USA. As always, please reach out to us with any questions or suggestions for future episodes. And we will see you again soon on Mom Street USA. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.